Say you have a problem, think it might be all in your head. Talk with a counselor or maybe a psychic instead. Doesn't matter how you roll, when life has taken such a toll. Clenching fist along with your screams. I'm here to heal your mind and we are here to heal your soul. Time to follow your dreams. Side by side, side by side, by side, side 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 by side. Yeah.
Hi, and welcome to Side by Side, a show where we use two different perspectives to achieve the same goal. I'm Sheena Metal, and I'm a psychic medium and an energetic healer. With me always is my co-host, Dian Katz, who is a mental health educator. And each week on the show, we work to give people the help and the healing that they need side by side. Dian, welcome. It's great to be back.
Hey, welcome to you. You know, I was just getting into our music. I was singing that music, that intro. That was great.
Yeah, just like you sang it when you made it.
I know, just like that.
You're singing along to you.
I know, it's kind of
good.
bizarre. I feel a little
I'm
multiple
different.
personality
I
right now. What's
when
that?
it's my music, I cringe. I hide. I'm not good with that.
I know.
I can't sing along to me. I get all like, I cringe.
Well,
I wish
gosh,
I could.
you know,
I wish I could.
Here we are. We have
Here
not
we
been on
are,
for
and
a
you
few
can
months.
see our faces now. It's so wonderful.
It's different.
We're doing our thing. Were you nervous? Did it give you anxiety, the idea of being on camera to do this?
Well, somewhat, just because it's different. You know, I'm used to just being on the air or having an audience with my band, and the audience is all drunk in front of me. So, you know, well,
okay.
they could be drunk. I don't know. I don't know what everybody's doing.
Probably. Yeah. Sometimes I think going to see the band is just an excuse to drink.
Yeah, that's right.
We're just
the more you drink, the better we sound.
We're just perpetuating people's alcoholism.
God.
We're not supposed to say I think I'm switching all my shows to video. I just think people like and need to see your face in this world right now.
You think?
I do. I don't know why. I would prefer to have nobody ever see my face. But I think that, and it's not even true. I've gotten so used to it, I don't even care anymore. I was thinking about, my best friend passed earlier this year. And I was thinking about how few photos I have of the two of us together when we weren't in costume in our band, because I didn't like to have my picture taken. So I don't have a lot of pictures from my late 20s and my 30s and my early 40s. I'm glad that everything has gone video, because it's gotten me very used to having my face in front of a camera and being okay to have pictures taken and video taken. And it's one less thing to have anxiety about.
Yeah, and that's funny because our show is on anxiety today.
Yeah.
So.
And there's all kinds of things to have anxiety about and ways to have anxiety. And I don't know why I was so nervous about it, but at some point I just stopped caring. And now I take pictures and my face is on and I don't care.
That's great. Yeah, I'm used to teaching. I teach classes, but this is a completely different venue for me. So
yeah.
I like it. I hope I like it. It's just, I like the interaction with my audience. And when you can't see the audience, it's sort of strange, but.
Yeah. I didn't used to think that, but the world has changed. And I think we live in a very video-centric world now. So I think you and me on camera is here to stay. And talking about our favorite topic, anxiety, ooh. I don't know about you, but I would have to say anxiety is probably the thing that has held me back the most in my life.
It's helped you back?
It's held me back. Yeah, I do. I think it's held me back. I think if I didn't have anxiety, I would have done a lot of things that I haven't done because of it, especially when I was younger and my anxiety was worse.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would have to say myself, I'm in this field, education and mental health, and that wasn't where I was going years ago, but my anxiety was so crippling that it got in the way.
Yeah.
So I went in a different direction, but now that I look back, I'm like, this is where I was supposed to be,
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think my anxiety, it made it easier for me to be in a radio studio where I only had to go one place and get there. And then that became a safe place because I went there every time I did a show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I didn't have to be on camera and I didn't have to be where there were big crowds. And with my band, I think I just got used to it. I mean, it was very scary for me in the beginning to be in a crowd of people.
Well, that's just it. Where'd you go? I'm talking to a black screen. That's just it. The more you do something, the less anxiety you're going to feel. And now I'm up all by myself. Well, hi, listeners. How are you today? Sheena, my co-host, has disappeared off. We've had a few technical problems. This is the first time we've done this show. We've been doing this show for about, now I'm gone. Oh,
No, you were here. We were here.
I don't know where you went.
I don't either.
You went out to the ethers.
All I can tell you for people who are going to watch every week is my house is on an Indian burial ground.
Oh, great.
Luckily, where Diane's house is, she's just off the Indian burial ground, but mine is most definitely on it. And sometimes weird stuff just happens, and we make it part of the fun.
I know. Isn't that hilarious that we live so close to each other?
We do. But you live just far enough inland that you're off the burial ground.
Okay, good.
Yeah, Diane and I, we've known each other for 30 years, right? And we didn't know that we grew up 3 blocks apart.
I know. That is just bizarre.
It's fantastic.
Bizarre. But you being the spiritual psychic you are, that's funny that you disappeared and, nobody knows where you went.
I just went into the ethers for a little bit.
Where
I
did
had a
you
little coffee with Archangel Michael, and then I came back.
Wow. Well, why don't you give a little recap? Because we did the show, starting on the air on radio a year ago. Mm-hmm. I think our first show, was our first show Anxiety? I can't remember.
No, our first show was about losing your moms because that was your mom's birthday.
Oh, that's right. That's right. January 23rd.
Yeah. So we have talked about anxiety. We had a couple of my friends on talking about their fear of flying.
Yep.
I'm sure a lot more people have that now that we've suddenly had all these plane crashes. I'm sure that's back for a lot of people. I think that for Diane and me, and it's funny because Diane suggested this show to me a couple of years ago, and it was a show I'd always wanted to do. So it was fantastic that we got to do this. I'm hearing myself in your camera. Is your volume turned up?
You're hearing.
I'm hearing me in your side.
That's just, see, you're doing weird stuff today. You're already starting.
No, I think your volume might be up on your computer.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
all right, well, we'll just turn it down.
We're figuring it out. It's a new thing for us. We're using new stuff, and we're figuring it out. I'm not worried about it all. Diane's probably more worried.
Look at my mic keeps disappearing. I don't know what's going on. Woo! All right, everybody. I got a mic, and it just seems to disappear, and it's probably Sheena doing something behind the scenes.
It's my magic and the Indian burial ground. So it was interesting because, like I said, Diane and I know each other for a long time. We didn't know that we lived so close together until I moved back here to where I grew up, in the same house. And then you pitched this show to me, and it was a show that I had always wanted to do and had tried to do with 2 different mental health people, and it hadn't worked. And so I'm thrilled to be here. And I think that our work, our spiritual work, and as friends, we're always working to help people from our unique perspectives. So then we just kind of brought it together as a show. And then it turned out that people also enjoyed just listening to us talk about whatever, or to talk about ourselves, like with anxiety today, to talk about and to be truthful about how we feel about things.
I can't believe some of the shows we did. I mean, the things that I learned from you. Let me tell you, listeners, sometimes you don't know what you're going to, hear when you're working with Sheena. And I found, do you remember our crystal show?
Oh, yes. I can't believe you didn't know that.
I did not know that. Oh my gosh, that was a riot. So we were doing a show on spirituality, and I thought I was a pretty spiritual person, and I knew most
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
about metaphysics. And Sheena got on the topic of crystals.
Yeah.
So should I go on?
Oh yeah,
And
I do
so,
love my crystals.
you
Diana
know, we all
apparently
know.
wasn't
Well,
aware of how everyone different places you could do crystal healing.
that's right, and how crystals give off an energy, and I knew
Sure.
that
Yes.
because I have friends that are all into it. You know, they have their certain crystals that they take in different places. Well, she just started telling me about this story, this story about where you can put a crystal,
Sure. Yeah.
and there's a name for it, and I'm like, are
Yeah.
you
Crystals
freaking
do go
kidding
where the
me?
sun don't shine. It's it's a no. It's a
So
known
that
fact.
gives you
You know
energy
what?
down below, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean,
If it fits,
I
you
was
must acquit.
rolling. What's that?
I said, if it fits, you must acquit. There are people who
Here we
believe.
go.
All right, I will recap. There are people who believe that a woman's genitals are the center of the universe and that there's a magic power. So, in order to enhance the magic power, you purchase a crystal that is shaped like something that was great, and then you use it to channel the power of the universe basically through your vagina. I'm
Holy.
not saying this is my own spiritual belief. I'm saying this is a spiritual belief. I will say, full disclosure, there are places I have never put a crystal, and that's one of them.
Wow.
Not that I'm completely adverse to it.
Is it like some tantric thing?
It's different than tantra. It's this whole idea that because babies pass through the canal, the vaginal canal, that a woman's center is the center of the
Universe.
universe of creation. So it's about how to enhance that.
Yeah.
So then there are things, and in some ancient spirituality, they call it a yoni. And the new agey people have really picked up on the yoni term. So they make like yoni eggs. Now, I don't know that egg is necessarily the shape that I would pick for that area, but they're eggs.
They're
And
eggs.
I think I was telling you on the show that once I was in this crystal shop, and this woman was just like looking at these eggs. And I just walked up to her and said, you know, I don't know what they think we're supposed to do with these, but it seems like an odd shape. And she just started laughing. And I think the lady that worked there did not think I was funny, but I do think it's a strange shape. But anyway, yeah, so you're supposed to harness your power, right? You're supposed to get your yoni egg. Now, everyone's going to send us yoni eggs. And then you're supposed to put it, you know, where the sun doesn't shine.
Well, now
And
I know
then
why I have those shakers that are, you know, look like eggs that
you could use a shake. Yes. Although if you had a vagina that was that powerful, it might smash the shake.
Oh, God.
It might crush it. You need something that can't be crushed by the power of the universe that we all inadvertently are harboring between our legs.
Okay, let's get this straight. I am not putting a yoni down there.
Okay. I'm not saying that I'm not. I'm saying I haven't.
But no disrespect to those who do.
But the more we talk about it, the more I think I might want to try. But does it have to be an egg? Like, could I get like a 10-inch, you know, amethyst yoni phallus?
TMI, we're going off in the wrong direction.
They do make those, by the way. They do make yoni phalluses. Yes.
Oh, wow.
And
I
they
don't
do
know
make
what to say.
they do make eggs that they do make crystals that look like genitals. I'm not sure what people do with them, and I don't ask questions.
This whole conversation's giving me anxiety.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
You made me retell the story.
I know, I did, because the first time I heard it, I was in stitches and I couldn't stop laughing.
People will never look normally at me again.
Did they ever?
No. Not for a very, very, very long time.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about anxiety, because
Sure.
right now, I think there's so many different sources that create anxiety.
Yeah.
Especially right now in this time, you know, the world. We're not going to get into politics, but I think most people that I see, even on social media, are experiencing intense anxiety over the way of the world right now, whether it's the war that's going on, or it's whoever was voted in as president, or if you're for the president, then you're having anxiety over all the people that voted for the other side. So there's just so many things, and now I'm all alone again here on the screen. What is going on? Anyway, I could talk about anxiety for hours, because to let the listeners know a little bit about my background, I suffered from crippling anxiety for decades, and there I go, and there's what is going on? Are you,
That
you
time
keep
somebody
disappearing?
called me. Okay, if you see me in the studio, don't call me, because you'll just cut me out. I'll just disappear.
Oh,
I don't know why people call my cell phone when they see me. Oh, I see you and I'm calling your cell phone. Don't call my cell phone,
oh, you mean don't
because it
call? I
knocks me
got you.
offline. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a phone that almost nobody has the number to, because I don't use this as a regular phone. So sometimes it's just like one of those weird spam calls, or somebody trying to sell me like dental insurance.
Or
But
Yodas.
if you see me on camera, don't call.
Okay, yeah, don't call her. But you
Um,
you usually put out a number for callers to call in or
yeah,
text you.
that's not this phone. So
Okay.
you can call, you can do that.
Okay.
You can and we're going to start working out a way that you can come in and be on the show with us, which will be really fun. So we're working on that. Maybe next week we'll even start doing that. I think that anxiety, Diane, is when your brain kind of goes off the chain, right? And creates scenarios that haven't happened yet. And then you worry all the time that things could happen. But most of the time, those things don't ever happen. So I think a
Oh,
lot
that's
of the
true.
trick with anxiety is to remember that just because you imagine something happening doesn't mean it's going to happen, and kind of talk yourself off the ledge a little bit. I know for me, the source of my anxiety when I was young was always worrying that some horrible thing was going to, like, I'd be on stage in a play and I'd suddenly have to go to the bathroom, or I'd throw up, or I'd pass out, or so then I was terrified to get on the stage because I was scared this thing was going to happen, but then this thing never happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. In my feelings on anxiety, from all my research and trying to cure myself, is that most anxiety, unless it's a biological thing,
Sure.
most anxiety originates from your thoughts. So many of us are usually going, well, what if this happens? And what if the what if syndrome? What if this happens? And as soon as you start having those kind of thoughts, those fearful thoughts, what happens is the body and the brain produce what I call a chemical dump. So all these chemicals come out as soon as you start feeling this fearful thought.
Sure. Yeah.
And then the chemical dump, which is adrenaline and all different types of chemicals that come into your
Right.
body,
Serotonin.
produce these sensations of your heart rate raises. You start maybe a little bit of sweat on the brow, and you're doing shallow breathing. So the thought produces the chemical dump that produces the sensations that are very uncomfortable. So how do you get out of this cycle? The cycle is you change your thoughts, you change your perceptions, you change your what ifs. And that is my belief and my philosophy, how to get yourself out of anxiety. Regardless of it, you're on the spectrum of a little bit of anxiety, or a little more because of what's happening around you, or you're into anxiety and panic attacks way on the other end where I was at for many years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I agree. And I think from a spiritual perspective, you have to sort of harness your faith and
oh yeah,
remember that we're not supposed to be alone, that, God has your back, and there's not I know a lot of times my clients will say to me, like, is the universe plotting against me to make me miserable? No, no, no. The universe only wants you to have a lovely life and be happy. We bring in our own stuff. We block our own path. And we need to find ways to step out of our path and let the natural flow of what the universe wants for us happen. And anxiety's like that. Like I said, I think I've missed out on things in my life by having anxiety. And I'm not regretful of it. I've had a great life and I don't want to go back and change it. But I do think that the more I've gotten past anxiety, the more I realize what a prisoner I was at one time in my life. So
Yeah.
when you panicked or got anxiety, what was the thought that made you feel like, oh my God, I can't do this, I'm going to freak out?
I always had this sensation, and I don't know if this started because I started getting anxiety at age 7.
Okay.
I had this sensation when I have a panic attack that I can't breathe. I can't
Okay.
catch my breath. And it's so uncomfortable. It's really, really uncomfortable. And it just feels like you're suffocating. And so the thoughts that come up, when I'm having a panic attack is, what if I can't breathe and I pass out? And well, now I know if you pass out, you're just going to wake back up.
You
But
start breathing normal.
yeah, you can start breathing normal. And there's really, most of the things that we're worried about, like you said, don't happen. It's just those sensations are so terrifying. And it's hard to explain that to somebody who has never had a panic attack. I
Right.
would, if I were to describe a panic attack, I would say this, because people have asked me, Diane, what does it feel like? It is the most horrifying mental anguish. If you were skating on a pond of ice and you fell in, and then you couldn't find the hole, and you're looking for the hole, above you to climb out, and you can't find it, that sensation is panic. Or if you were tied down on a railroad track and the train is almost about to hit you, that sensation is a panic attack. And the
Yes.
thing is that people like us, really sensitive types, will have these sensations over ridiculous things, and we can't explain it.
Yeah.
But it just the smallest thing, like being in an enclosed place, or getting on a bus, or sitting in the back seat of a car, or going to the dentist, or going to the hair salon. All these things can produce those sensations if you let them.
Sure.
And
Yes. And then
know-
also if you're an empath and
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't know it, or even if you do know it, you're not only feeling your own stuff, you're feeling everybody else's stuff. So you can literally panic in a movie theater watching the person in the movie having something happen to them.
why don't you explain what an empath is for those who
So
don't?
an empath, so here we go. Having sympathy for someone means you don't really understand what they're going through, but you feel for them. Having empathy means that you take what someone is going through and you relate it to something similar that you've been through, and then you feel for them.
Yeah.
Being an empath means that you actually feel everybody's stuff. So when something is happening to someone else, you feel like it's actually happening to you.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Very
know,
true. And we're both empaths.
the first time I remember having a panic attack was, that scene in Star Wars in The Empire Strikes Back where they get stuck in that trash compactor and the walls are moving in.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember people thinking, like, go around like, oh, this is the coolest scene. And I was like, like, I could think of, I was like, are the movie theater walls going to start moving in? What's going to happen to me? And that was when I realized that I was claustrophobic.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I'd never been stuck anywhere at that time. Later, I got stuck somewhere and then it got really bad. But just the idea that that could happen to somebody. So that's the thing I think about being an empath is a lot of things that people watch on the news or in documentaries or in films or in television and think sound fantastic make me feel like I can't breathe.
Yeah. Okay, so your sensation that you feel from the chemical dump that frightens you most, you're saying it's the breathing issue?
No.
A lot of people think they're having a heart attack because your heart's beating so fast.
For me, it used to be really bad stomach problems when it started. It was all revolved around my stomach and my intestinal tract. After I developed intermittent AFib almost 8 years ago, now I feel like I'm going to go into AFib. I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. But I didn't used to have that. My anxiety used to be in a different place. But some people get migraines. Some people can't feel their limbs. Like there's all kinds of different things. But
And there's that
when I,
disorientation too, where you
yes,
just
some
everything's
people, I
swirling
have a
around.
friend that when she gets a panic attack, she feels like she can't really see or hear, like her hearing gets duller and her vision gets blurry.
Yeah.
Um, but when I've actually had panic attacks, which I don't thankfully have as often as anxiety attacks, I feel like I'm having a stroke and a heart attack at the same time. And interestingly enough, I have also had spiritual attacks. And it feels like a panic attack, except the reason you're panicking is because something that doesn't belong around you is around you. And it's a spiritual attack, which is when some kind of energy, either unhappy energy or angry energy or dark energy, moves through you. And it's the same kind of feeling like a panic attack, like you're having a stroke and a heart attack at the same time.
Well, I wanted to mention something that, the thing now is that I've learned over the years is that you don't need to get rid of anxiety. Maybe the panic. You don't need to let yourself get so worked up that you go into the panic. And that takes tremendous work and discipline to learn
Right.
how to not go in that direction. Because if you've had it for decades, your brain's wired. Your brain gets wired in a certain way.
Sure.
And in order, you have to rewire it. And that is tremendous therapy, tremendous, discipline and focus. But I want to say that anxiety is actually good. It's actually a good thing because it's either, when you get that chemical dump, it could either be one thing or another. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're going to get on a roller coaster. You got two people that are going to get on a roller coaster together, right? One person was, dragged on it and has to get, take the ride. That person, both people are going to have their heart rate raise. They might be breathing more shallow, and they're going to experience all the sensations of those chemicals, correct? But what's happening is the fearful person is going to go, oh my God, I'm feeling horrible right now. I'm just going to fall off this roller coaster and I'm going to die. The other person is having the same sensations, but interprets them as excitement. Wow, my heart's beating. I am so excited. I'm pumped. I'm ready to take this ride and I'm ready to go. And so, we can use our anxiety and our adrenaline and get all pumped up and use it for things that help us, become more creative or become more successful or become, I hope you know what I'm saying. I hope.
No, I do. I mean,
this makes sense.
I do. And I agree. I also think having survived anxiety, I mean, so many of my clients have anxiety. So having survived it has helped me to help other people, which has been wonderful.
Yeah, that's true.
And worth it. My mom used to always say, every awful thing that you go through gives you the ability to be a teacher and help other people. That if you don't go through it, sometimes you don't have the same perspective helping other people with it. And I have a lot of clients that think they're having heart attacks, strokes on a regular basis. And I have to convince them it's anxiety, and they don't want to believe it's anxiety. And they've been to all these doctors who keep telling them nothing's wrong with you. And they're still convinced it's something. So being able to help people through that is really a wonderful thing. And
well, a lot of
I've
people,
been there.
a lot of people with addictions actually have anxiety underneath that.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
They covered up their anxiety with alcohol or overeating or whatever the case may be.
Right. Or severe self-controlling, where their whole life they're not even really having a life because they're controlling their life to the extreme because they're so scared if they don't, they'll feel that anxiety. So they're scared to take chances. They're scared to drive far away from home. They won't sit in traffic. They won't stay in a motel. They won't go see a doctor. Like, there's so many things, right? There's so many things you can have anxiety about that you can just freak out over. I still don't like small spaces. So I'm not a fan of the elevator, the MRI. I've learned to do the traffic, and I can do the traffic now, but I'm always scared one day I'm going to get stuck in that thing where, like, you don't move for 3 hours. But I don't mind the slow and stop traffic. It used to freak me out, but I can do it now and I'm okay. So you work to get better, right? You find little things you can fix, and then you work on fixing the next level of things. They're not just going to wake up someday and your anxiety is going to be completely gone,
No, no.
but you take your little wins, right? And then you use the things you've overcome to go to the next level and start overcoming things.
Exactly. I mean, if you have a fear, then the way you work on it is you sort of make a hierarchy of steps
Yeah.
working toward it. And when you start with the very smallest step and you keep doing that over and over and over,
Yeah.
and then it rewires your brain.
Yes.
And before you know it, that step is no longer, it doesn't make you anxious anymore. It's now completely changed.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, I look back at all the things I couldn't do.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's not funny, but when I was in my late teens, very early 20s, and then again when I was in my late 20s and early 30s, I was horribly agoraphobic. And I remember my guitar player, who's recently passed, saying to me, maybe 10 or 15 years later, we never knew if you were going to show up. Like, we got the whole band ready because
Oh,
I'd make him
yeah.
go ahead and get everybody ready. And then I would just wander around in a circle and talk myself into leaving the house. And he would say, like, we would never know. There were times where we were sure you weren't coming. And that was a horrible strain for me to put on all of them. And that wasn't fair.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a choice because I was so freaked out. But I was telling a client last night that when I first became extremely agoraphobic, I mean, I had a little bit of it in high school. I had a bunch of it in high school, and then it got better later in high school. And then I had a surgery my first year of college, and I was very isolated. I was at home all the time, and lo and behold, the anxiety came back. And I remember my mom, who also had it and had beat it, she would say to me every day, we're going to go get frozen yogurt. And it was when the golden spoon first came.
Oh, yeah.
So every day, every afternoon, she would pull me out of the house, and we would get in that car and we would drive to the golden spoon, and we would go in and get the yogurt. She'd make me go in with her. We would go back to the car and drive home. And that was my outing for the day.
Oh, wow.
He was talking last night about, my client was talking about, they're staying in Huntington Beach right now and how he loves the golden spoon, which apparently is still around. And I was like, oh my God, the golden spoon saved my life. And then once I got used to doing that and it wasn't so bad, then she would say, okay, now we're going to go to a movie, and then we're going to go to the golden spoon. And if you need to leave halfway through the movie and you freak out, then we'll leave. But we're going to at least go and wait till the movie starts.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where I could do that. And then I could go and get dinner. And then I could go, and slowly but surely I could do things.
Yeah, I know.
But if she had let me stay in the house and do nothing, I might still be in the house. So you kind of have to make yourself find little wins, because then those little wins give you the courage for the next set of little wins.
Yeah, you do have to push yourself, but you can't push yourself to the extreme.
No.
You can't, like if someone says, okay, you got to do this now.
Yeah.
No way. I mean, that will just make you fall apart. So you have to do baby steps and work all the way up.
Yeah.
And I think where I've been, Sheena, is just like you. I mean, I remember years ago, decades ago, that I had a hard time going very far from home.
Sure.
Because home, for some reason, felt like my safe place.
Right.
So anything that I did that would create that chemical dump, those sensations, I would stop doing. So if I was taking a bus ride and I had a panic attack in that, I would never ride buses again.
Right.
If I had one, going to the hairdresser, well, I had to get a haircut, but I'd maybe have somebody come to my house or something. But everything I stopped doing. I kept avoiding things.
Yeah.
And then my world got smaller and smaller until I could barely leave the house. But I look back now and I think, wow, I've come so far. I mean, that seems like a distant memory now. I can't even believe that I'm on this, recording video right now, because I remember being in grad school, getting my degree in marriage family counseling, and we had to go in front of the class behind a two-way mirror. The class would be on one side, I would be on the other side. The camera was rolling, and I had to have a client. and I had to do counseling with this client. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to pass out in front of the,
Right. I
the
would just
two-way.
think I'm stuck in a room. That
Yeah,
was
I'm
the
stuck
first
in
thing
this
I
room
would
and I
think.
know everybody's watching everything I'm doing. And not only that, it's going to be on video so everybody
Yeah.
can watch it 200 times. But none of that ever happened. I did a great job and that was it.
Do you remember when we rehearsed at rehearsal studios? There was always a way to lock the room from the outside. There was like a clip where a deadlock could go, a
Oh,
deadbolt
yeah,
could go.
yeah.
So
Oof.
I used to always insist that we kept the door open like an inch when we rehearsed because I would get scared somebody would just come by for fun and throw a lock on the
And
outside of
lock
the
on it,
door.
yeah.
It's why I don't like porta potties because you can put a lock from the outside on a porta potty.
Oh,
As a
really?
matter of
Oh,
fact, I
God.
dropped an abnormal
Thanks
psych
for
class
telling
in
me
college.
that now.
Right, so never use a porta potty. And that's our show. Good night. Enjoy nothing.
I don't want to use one anyways.
You'll never go to Coachella again. My
Oh
gift to
my
you.
gosh, I didn't
Um,
know that. That's
I was in
hilarious.
Palm Springs and I was having dinner with a friend in this Thai restaurant. And I went to go to the bathroom and I noticed there was a lock hanging on a latch outside the bathroom, like a deadbolt. I'm like, why is that there? I have never peed so fast in my life. I think I had the door kicked open with one foot while I peed. It was the most fastest peeing in the West. But I don't remember what I was going to say now. And I had this big point and now I don't remember it.
Oh, just with the lock on the door.
Yeah, so I was always very fearful of places I couldn't get out of. And when I was in college, I dropped an abnormal psych class because the teacher used to lock us in.
Yeah.
Crazy
That's
abnormal psych professor. He was like, you need to learn you can't just go to the bathroom, so nobody can leave this class for 45 minutes. And I think I was like lasted 2 weeks and I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah, I know. As soon as they say you can't leave, I can feel my heart rate going up.
Yeah, anything where I feel like I'm trapped and they tell me I can't leave. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not good for me.
But
But
we've been talking so much about the extreme, what we've gone through, with our
Sure.
panic attacks and agoraphobia and all this stuff. And the listeners may not be in that boat. They may just be on this anxiety of, what's going on in the world right now.
Sure.
So
Yeah, it's
what
another
could,
type
what
of anxiety, right? The fear that everything as we know it will fall apart.
Yeah. So what could we give them from a spiritual standpoint and a mental health standpoint that would help everyone in these areas, even if it's not extreme, but it's enough to make you feel pretty uncomfortable and maybe lose some sleep over. What
Yeah.
would you suggest as a spiritual advisor that someone can do to deal with what's happening in our world right now?
Well, my mom had a wonderful expression, it hasn't happened yet. And, it hasn't happened yet. Like when I would get nervous because I had a surgery coming up or something, she would say, but that's in 2 weeks. Today is today, and it hasn't happened yet. Enjoy your day. I think we spend so much time, and you see it all over Facebook and social media, right? Worried about all these things that haven't even happened.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy for your brain to start going into, I see things from clients ask me like, is there going to be a blackout, a giant blackout? I heard that this week. Is the sun going to stop working? Is Los Angeles done because it's too toxic from the fires? Is the tsunami coming? Is the giant earthquake going to knock California out? Are we all going to lose our freedoms and it's going to become like Nazi Germany again? When you start worrying about things, then your brain can just build and build and build and build. And that's why we have things like meditation and calm breathing.
And meds.
You need to talk yourself out of that. You can't go through your life worried that the sun is going to shut down and stop providing heat or light, or that it's going to burn up, or the comet's going to come, the asteroids come. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
You can't worry about it. Well, it happened to the dinosaurs. Okay. Well, if it happens to us, then it does, and we'll all be dead anyhow. So why are you spending every day of your life worrying about it? You can't stop the comet from coming. But I just think that we love that, right? That's why the theme of so many movies and TV shows have to do with disasters and extinction and the zombie apocalypse and the vampires are coming. And, we worry about things. And I think we need to find a way to divert our spiritual energy off of the doomsaying and on to something that's positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know because right now I think many people feel hopeless, helpless, like they can't change anything, that things are out of their control.
Of course.
And I know when things are out of your control, of course, what you're supposed to do is lead toward acceptance, but nobody,
Right.
some things you don't want to accept. And
Or
it's
don't have
just,
to accept.
yeah,
Yes,
you don't have to
100%.
accept. But I think the things that you can't change, you do have to just not focus on that because you have to focus on what you can change. What
Yes.
can you do to change this situation, whatever it is? And you really need to do that because if you just put your head in the sand and think, oh, everything's awful and I just don't want to think about any of it
Right.
and don't deal with it, it grows. It gets bigger. Your anxiety gets worse. And then one day, one little thing's going to happen and you're going to blow up, So
Right.
you have to think about the things that you can do to change whatever it is that you can't control.
I agree. And also from a perspective of the universe being a balance, right, Diane, of darkness and light. If you allow dark and negative thinking to convince you that you suppress your light, right? You're so worried about the asteroid coming, so worried about Yellowstone's caldera blowing into a giant volcano that takes out half the country, that you're not bringing light to the world. You're not laughing and loving and taking care of people you care about
Yeah.
and volunteering at the soup kitchen and singing to your grandchildren because you're just sitting around worried about this thing that hasn't happened yet. And when that happens, then in a sense, darkness wins. And we need to keep bringing light to the world all the time. And you can't bring the proper amount of light if you're just focusing on death, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you got to really think about what's important to you and try to stay focused on that. Because, even putting aside the worldly events right now that are happening. Okay, I lost my train of thought. Hang on.
That's why I mentioned
Putting
disasters
aside-
and things everybody worries about.
Yeah, I lost it. I don't know where it went. Sorry, guys. Sometimes I'm about to say
It's for
something,
next week.
and boom, it's gone.
It's not for you. It's for another time. You don't need to hear it this week.
Wait till all of you get older.
You just need to stay present.
Yeah,
I think that was something, then that really helped my anxiety. When I started doing live radio 30 years ago, can you believe? The summer was 30 years. When you're doing a live radio show, when you're doing a live TV show, I mean, I can't sit around right now and worry about, Yellowstone blowing up. I have to do a show and be present. And I don't think I really had realized, except for being on stage, or that what really being present was.
Yeah.
And when I started realizing what being present was, it really helped me with anxiety because you can't be present and be in a state of panic at the same time.
Absolutely.
So the more that I spent in present on the air, the more I started to get help in my actual off the air life, because I realized how good it was to just be in the now, not be worrying about everything. You know what I mean?
That
just
is
be in
so
the now.
important. And I remembered what I was going to say. And that's very true because the present moment, you have to stay. That's all we have,
Yes.
Nobody knows what's going to happen in the, next day. But the thing is, if you're always focused on the negative, do you know people that awfulize everything? Everything's so awful.
God.
Everything's so horrible.
Yeah.
And I mean, those people give me anxiety, but if you're constantly thinking about, like I said, putting aside the worldly events because some of them are horrific right now.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly thinking about all the little things and everything that's bothering you, I don't know about you, but a decade could pass. You could wake up 10 years later and just go, where'd the time go?
Yeah.
Because you were so focused on all these horrible things, you never really enjoyed yourself.
And
so-
again, you're perpetuating negativity, right? I mean, there
Yep.
are scientific studies that show if you scream at negative things at a glass of water, its chemical properties alter.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to your own cells and your own electrical system inside of you and your own chakral system from a spiritual perspective when you're just spewing negativity all the time? You're
Yeah.
telling your body and your soul and your heart, it's good when things are bad. Bad is good, because I'm talking about bad all the time. So let's get on board with bad. And then you actually physically, spiritually, emotionally alter your being by doing that.
Yeah.
And we
And
all think the negative things, and we all go, oh, God, that idiot.
I know you're
But
just digging the groove even more into your
right,
brain, you know, you're going to
right. You're
such a
creating the
habit.
story of you as everything is bad.
You know, I think for me, the one thing that's helped me all these years is that I wanted to become master of my emotions.
Mm,
And when you focus on something like that, like it's a challenge, you know, I want to find a way to be completely in charge of my emotions. And that's how all of us, you know, if we can find a way to make our best self, you keep hearing that a lot. You know, I want to
yeah.
become my best self, the best version of myself. It's true. I want to become the best version of myself.
Hmm.
But you have to consciously work on yourself,
Yep. And you have to just take the little things.
little
It
things at a
can't
time.
always be the big thing. So I do
Yeah,
this
yeah.
thing where when I go to bed at night, I look over at my baby, Cullen the cat, and I say, Cullen, did we have a good day? And I think about his day, and I think about my day, and I think, you know what? We had a good day. And then we go to bed with that energy of having a good day, and then we wake up the next day with the energy of trying to have a good day the next day.
Yeah.
And not every day is perfect, and you can't start analyzing and looking for everything in the day that was bad. You have to think about the things that were good. And what were the little things
Absolutely.
that we did today that were great, which ends with, we live in a safe place and we get to sleep snuggling because, he likes to sleep snuggling with me. What a great day.
Yeah.
I think that it's very easy for him because animals automatically do that. But I think people, my mom used to always say, people were just smart enough to be dangerous. We're just kind of smart enough that we can ruin it for ourselves.
Yeah.
So take the win. Enjoy the fun things you did today. Be grateful for the stuff in your life, even if it's little stuff that
Yeah.
help to make your day pretty much okay. Because you're always going to be dealing with the negative. You're always going to be working through the things you still have to work through. Those things aren't going to go away. They're always going to be hanging
They're
around you
always
as you work
available.
through them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But why not enjoy the good things that are happening right now and be happy for them?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, good things are always available, and so are bad things. You know,
Yes,
what are we going to focus on? Is the
exactly.
glass half full or is half empty? And every day I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is a gratitude list in
Oh,
my
I like
mind.
that.
You know, I go through. I used to just say, okay, if I could just come up with 5 things that I'm happy about today. Well, one thing is I woke up. It could have been way different. I'm
Yes,
alive, you know, and then I just go through those things. And usually my list can end up with like 20, 30 things.
sure.
But
Yep.
when you get in that mindset, you start your day thinking like that, then it helps you to get into, you know, the groove
Agreed.
of just trying to stay in your zone, your positive zone. Otherwise, you may have this habitual way of just falling into all the depression, listening to
Yes.
everybody around you is so
Yes.
negative, picking it all up, and then you just feel like crap by the end of the day. So,
100%. Yeah. I think for me, what was good today was I got to be here with you doing the
yes.
show because I love you and I love that we bring our energies together. And also, Amazon delivered my yoni egg. So it's a good day.
Stop it!
Diane, where can people find you online?
You can find me at diankatz.com or facebook.com/diankatzband or on the bathroom at one of your local pubs.
On the bathroom wall at
That's
Shakey's
right.
for a good time
Shakey's, remember
call.
Shakey's? Yeah.
Yes, I do. For a good time. At the Golden Spoon restroom. It says Sheena Metal had a panic attack here. Call her for a good time.
You want to know
If
more
you're
about Yonis? Call Sheena.
um, if you're looking for us, sidebysideshow.com. We also have a Facebook page, Side by Side Show on Facebook, and I am at SheenaMetalSpiritual.com. and everywhere on social media, just at Sheena Metal. I'm a psychic medium and energetic healer. I'm Sheena Metal. Dian Katz is a mental health educator. And each week we're working to help and heal people by working side by side, looking at things from different perspectives, and hopefully making you laugh a little bit. So remember to try to put a smile in your day.
That's right.
Look at the positive and not the negative, and remember that your vagina is the center of the universe, and treat it accordingly.
And we love you.
We love you so much. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for being here.
Say you have a problem, think it might be all in your head. Talk with a counselor or maybe a psychic instead. Doesn't matter how you roll when life has taken such a toll. Clenching fists along with your screams. Are here to heal your mind and we are here to heal your soul. Time to follow your dreams. Side by side.